Hi folks, welcome to another episode of The Fisherman TV. I'm Fred Golafaro, Senior Editor at The Fisherman magazine, and this week we'll be heading north to sample some deep water fluke action off the Rhode Island coast with our New England sales manager Dale Nicholson and his buddies Mike Wade of Watch Hill Outfitters and Captain Tom Logan of Fish On Charters. Next, we'll join Tom Schlichter and Gary Grunsick of Silly Lily Fishing Station for a change in fluke tactics as they bucktail the shallow confines of Moriches Bay. And then we'll hook up with our Jersey Ed man, John DeBona, and Captains Alan Lee and Ray Bukowski as they drift fish a nearshore reef for some tasty sea bass outside of Manasquan Inlet. There we go.
Hi, I'm Dale Nicholson from The Fisherman magazine. We're going out fluking today with Mike Wade from Watch Hill Outfitters and Captain Tom Logan from Fish On Charters. We're going to show you some different techniques, fluking, different baits for fluking. Come aboard and have some fun with us.
Well, I started fishing at a very young age, actually probably about 3 or 4 years old. Father took us out fishing, and that's how I started, mostly freshwater, and then I progressed to salt water. Once I was a little bit older, I lived close to the Long Island Sound. I was able to get out fishing summer break for school, go fishing every day. The boat I run is a 36-foot Wayne Beal. It's a down east style boat, single engine. It's got a large cockpit area for plenty of room for fishing. It's got a cabin, a full head. It's fully stocked with quality fishing tackle, Penn and Shimano. I enjoy fishing Rhode Island because it's got a diverse amount of species here to fish for. You're not limited to one area. There's plenty of reefs. There's Block Island we can run to from here. We can fish Napatree Point. We can fish all across Mesquamaket. We can run to Fisher's Island and fish for bass, or short run out to the canyons to go tuna fishing or shark fishing. In this area, Mesquamaket, typically the best way we find fluke is using a double rig, a jig on the bottom and a trailer hook set up on the top. And it's a double hook system, so you have double your chances of hooking into a fish versus the standard sinker with a trailing hook on it. Today we fished with Mike Wade and Dale Nicholson from The Fisherman. Yep. Mike is from Watch Hill Outfitters. Mike is a good source for me for bait. He gets quality bait. Local squid for fishing. It's a good source for me for getting fishing reports where other fishermen are going out the days that I'm not fishing. I'm able to get information from Mike. Well, for fluke, we like to try a bunch of different baits. Being a charter boat, usually I have 4 to 6 rods in the water at a time, so I can vary up what we're using for the jig, the colors, the trailers. We can change up the colors, the type of trailer. We like to use a lot of real meat, meaning bunker, herring, spearing, squid, live mummies, live killies. All that will tell you what the fish are keyed in on if you can have several rods out at one time, and then you can change over and kind of capitalize on what the fish are feeding on by loading up all the rods with that specific type of bait.
There we go. There we go.
Nice and easy. Is he a keeper?
Yeah, this thing's got a little meat to it.
Got a little meat to it.
Absolutely, because this is a pretty stiff pole.
Yeah, we'll get the net up in here.
I think we got a nice fish.
Oh, that's a nice fish.
Keeper.
That's a keeper for sure.
Yeah.
All right, looks like he hit the flyer. Hey.
Oh,
there we go. Oh, that's a nice keeper.
There's a nice fish.
Yeah, that's a keeper.
That's a beauty.
A jig I like to use for fluke fishing is a bucktail, and it's called a jackpot digger. Like a regular bucktail, except it has a digging foot on it that it allows it to stand up, and it just kicks up the mud as you're jigging it along the bottom. Sometimes to get the fluke to bite, you really want to change up your presentation, how the jig and the baits are presented to them. So sometimes you got to work the jig a lot. Sometimes you just drag it and hop it off the bottom. Other times they just want it drifting right past them. You really have to vary that up, and you'll find out what the fish are keyed in on and what triggers them to bite that day. So it's good to try different things with different people, trying one way and another person tries a different technique.
Oh, there he is. Oh, there he is. There he is.
Excellent.
You're gonna get the net, Dale?
I got
I'm
it.
still cutting bait here.
Got it.
Boy, he was just jacking with me and jacking with me. And I finally just gave it all the way back to him. I just let it sit down.
Got it. I'm becoming a
He's
firm
pretty good.
believer of the
He's right on
jackpot.
that jackpot digger. Look
We
at it right
ready?
in the corner of his jaw.
There we go. Nice fish, Mike. I think that's pretty close.
That's pretty close.
That is pretty close. Get him out of there for you. There you go.
There's that jackpot digger. Let's see. No, he's just under.
Is he?
Yep, just under. So let's go ahead and get this guy back in the water. There he goes. Wow, that was cool. Did you see the way he skipped along there?
Dale was doing good. He was catching fish, but they were a little bit small at first. In one particular area, we kept drifting. He was picking up fish, and then he finally stopped catching fish, and everybody else was catching fish. We moved to another spot, and right away, Dale starts catching fish, and he catches the best fish of the day.
I think we got a nice fish. Oh, maybe not.
Need a hand?
No, I think I'm good. Maybe a net. We'll see what he looks like. Felt bigger in the beginning. Let's see. Oh, he's a nice fish.
That's a nice fish.
That's a beauty.
Yeah, that is a nice fish. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Nicer
That's a nice
Yeah,
fish.
that's a real nice fish.
Whoa.
And it came out in the net, too.
Today we had a great time with Dale, and it seemed like he was really started off strong, and then he actually ended up catching the biggest fish of the day, but we sure were giving him a lot of grief because there was a period of time where he just didn't seem like he was catching. Tom, on the other hand, was running around the boat, which left me to catch quite a few of the fish. Oh, there he is. Oh, there he is. There he is.
Excellent.
You're gonna get the net, Dale?
I got
I'm
it.
still cutting bait here.
Digger, look
We
at it right
ready?
in the corner of his jaw.
There we go. Nice fish, Mike. I think that's pretty close.
Well, rubber nets for fishing are ideal. The hooks don't really get impaled in the twist of the twine on a regular mesh net, and it's easy for just to flip the fish out, and a lot of times the jig doesn't even hang up in the rubber net. It allows you to get back out fishing quicker with the jig or the hooks, and you get back to fishing instead of playing with a hook and a net. Sometimes when you're fluke fishing, the tide slacks and you're not moving at all. You can change up your presentations, or you can stop fishing or go to another area until you can get some tide moving. What you can do to change that up and increase your odds on catching fish on those dead times is either casting to the fish, where you actually cast out your fluke rig and you just reel it back in and do like you were jigging and bouncing bottom as you were if you had a good drift.
No, I think you had the mic on.
Oh, there he is. There he is. There he is.
Nice job, Mikey. Where you go get him? Once again on the cast.
Casted him out.
Nice fish, Mikey. Bring him right over there. We go, baby.
Nice fish.
Beautiful fish.
These are all nice.
These are all beautiful fish. Hey, Tom, I can't thank you enough. Mike,
Sure, no
can't
problem.
thank you enough. You guys are great.
Glad you got some nice
Wonderful,
fish.
wonderful day on the water. Beautiful Musqueamish Beach in the background. I really can't thank you enough.
Yep,
But
now
great day.
you even got some spots for yourself when you come out here.
I
in your
got some
boat.
spots out here. I got some other spots I'm not going to tell you about, Tom. That, you know. But
Yeah, I'll go there and start fishing it, right?
So you saw some great fluking off the beaches in Rhode Island. Hope you enjoyed the episode of Fisherman TV. Special thanks to Mike Wade from Watch Hill Outfitters and Captain Tom Logan for getting us on the water. This is Dale Nicholson from the Fisherman Magazine. See you on the water.
Well, for most fish, to get a good quality fillet out of your fish, you want to bleed them once you catch them. It clears out the meat of the blood, and on a fluke, basically the easiest way to bleed it is to insert your knife right behind the gill, and there's the pectoral fin here on the white side. You just insert the knife here and just go back and forth, and you'll start to get blood coming out of the fish, and the fish is bled, and then it's best to put it in a bath of ice and water. It'll cool it right down, it'll help bleed it out, and then you'll have one of the finest tasting fillets.
Atlantic Outboard of Westbrook, Connecticut is North America's largest Evinrude E-Tech dealer. They're also the dealers of the most prestigious fishing boats in New England, including Contender, Pursuit, and Robalo. Need service? Their full-service marina can handle all your boating needs. Visit Atlantic Outboard of Westbrook.
From the fish-rich waters of the Rhode coast, we'll head down to Moriches Bay on Long Island, a flat fishing paradise, and join Tom and Gary for some light tackle bucktailing action.
Today I'll be fishing with Gary Gunshike of Silly Lily Fishing Station in East Moriches, New York. We'll be heading out on Moriches Bay to tempt summer flatties on the flats using lightweight bucktails teamed with teasers. It's the kind of fishing that sees fast action, wicked strikes, and enough keepers to keep things interesting. In short, it's about as much fun as you can have in the shallows during the heat of summer. So let's head on out and see if we can't find some fish.
Well, Moriches is kind of a unique area because you have a bay that's accessible to small boats. It's pretty well protected. It's really geared for small boats. Larger boats even have trouble navigating the bay. So if you're a small boater, the water is clean, we're close to the inlet. Fish have always been pretty plentiful here. You have a lot of structure in the bay, lots of sandbars, lots of channel edges, which are, especially for fluke fishing, great places to try to concentrate your efforts. There's lots of bait. Since it's shallow, there's just lots of growth, lots of life. And all the small fish and the bigger ones too follow the bait into the bay. Well, Silly Lily's was here since 1932 under a couple of different names. And we used to come fishing here a lot in the 60s and 70s. And we wound up moving to Maine. And when we had a change in job situations, we decided to buy a fishing station. And my wife and I have been here for the last 33 years. At this point, we have 18 skips. They're all 16 feet with 8 horsepower motors. I've known Tom for many years. He used to come with his kids here, kind of a laid-back type of fisherman, just enjoys going out there. Knows the fact that sometimes you catch them, sometimes you don't. Fishing is a sport, should be fun. Catch a couple of fish for dinner, and Tom's always had that attitude, and we get along very well in that respect.
Yeah, very dark, muddy.
Depending upon, of course, the wind and the tides and everything else determines the weight of your bucktail. Today we were fishing in shallow water, 3-4 feet. We probably could have gotten away with a 3/4 ounce bucktail. You want to use braided line. It makes it easier to sink the bucktail to the bottom. We came up about 1.5 feet above the bucktail and I put a dropper loop on there, about an 8-inch dropper loop, which makes it easy to change the teasers. If you're going to fish in deeper water, like the channel edges, you're going to want to go with a 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce. I hardly hear anybody use more than 1 ounce bucktails in the bay. Today it seemed like white was producing well. It's a sunny day. You'll talk to people, I'll talk to customers that they'll swear by pink, they'll swear by green, and it's just a matter of trying and having all this stuff with you and experimenting. Today, in fact, we actually tried a little crab teaser that one of my tackle manufacturers supplied me with, and I was kind of hesitant to use it, but I said, the fish were biting, let's give it a shot. And sure enough, we started catching fish on a little crab teaser.
All right, 2 once, what do you know?
Maybe it's the same fish.
That's
I hope mine's on that little crab. Yes, he is.
Yes, he took the crab, huh? Took the high key.
Yeah.
Wow. Never know. My guy's on high hook too. And away he goes.
Today we fished the top of the incoming tide, which is when the water tends to be the clearest. In the summertime, you would want to concentrate your efforts 3 hours before and after high water. Earlier in the season, when the water's cold, the bottom of the tide produces the best fish. A lot of it depends on the temperature. Sometimes you can see the channel edges, especially when the water's crystal clear. It makes it a little bit easier. You want to use your engine to stay right on the edges. It's the strategy of big fish not to waste energy. So they'll sit on the downslope of a drop-off and wait for the smaller fish to come to them. This way they don't have to burn as much energy. Well, we were using a ½ ounce. A lot of times you'll get away with a 3/4 ounce, quarter-ounce bucktail. I like to keep it, I like to jig. You know, that's why they call it a jig. You just got to keep it moving all the time. A lot of times what will happen while you're jigging, you'll feel the fish just grab it. And you don't know whether to set the hook or to let him take it a little more. And you have to experiment with that because you don't know. Like when the water's cold, the fish are a little more sluggish, you gotta let them take it. Otherwise, when it's warm and you're working the jig, you just set the hook right away. Yeah, it happens all the time with jigs. You'll think you hooked the fish. A lot of times he'll just be grabbing onto the bait or onto the end of the tail, and you'll be bringing it in, you'll feel it drop off. If you drop it right back to him and continue doing the same thing, he'll come back 3 or 4 times. Sometimes you miss him, sometimes you get him.
Beauty of the shallow water.
This one feels like a keeper, unlike the last couple. Let's see. A little closer.
That?
Yeah, I can do it. All right. I think we got our first fish for dinner. This was the first one on the bucktail. Today we tipped the teaser and the bucktail itself with spearing, which is my favorite bait. You want to use braid with light bucktails especially because they create very little resistance in the water. It's easy to get them down to the bottom. You don't have to let as much line out. We fished with braid, and then we had fluorocarbon leader, about 20-pound test. The fluorocarbon disappears. It makes the bucktail look natural. What happened today was we watched the water temperature drop as the tide came in. It got as low as 59 degrees. When we started, it was in the 70s. A lot of times that'll put the fish off their feed. Right at the top of the tide, there was no movement, and then the tide started to drop. On the dropping tide, that's when you see the water warm up because the sun has had a chance to warm up the flats. So we fished the drop off right by buoy 27, and we had to put the engine on because the wind was against the tide, and Tom was able to pick the biggest fish of the day.
Hey, there we go. All right. There we go. Woo! So you do it? There you have it, a morning of action-packed fluking on the flats. As I'm sure you've realized by now, it's important to bring along a selection of teasers and bucktails in various sizes and colors. But as Gary pointed out, the most important thing is to time the tides. Early in the season, the start of outgoing water is generally best, but in the heat of summer, you'll often find the toothy flatties liking the cool, refreshing waters of the flood. From the banks of Moriches Bay, I'm Outdoor Tom for the Fisherman TV.
Burnett's Marina is a fisherman's paradise with easy access to the Fire Island Inlet. Its 150-slip marina is one of the safest around. Their full-service tackle shop provides a diverse selection of baits, fish cleaning stations, clean bathrooms, and showers. Maybe that's why they're host to some of the South Shore's best anglers.
We're going to shift gears a bit now and join John, Alan, and Ray as they rely on drifting tactics to put together a nice catch of sea bass on a Jersey reef.
Hello, I'm John DeBona from the New Jersey edition of the Fisherman magazine. I'd like to welcome you back to another exciting episode of the Fisherman TV. Today we'll meet up with Captain Alan Lee and Captain Ray Bukowski Jr. of the Point Pleasant Beach charter boat Moriches Sport Fishing. It's an awesome 44-foot Henriques sport fisherman built right here in New Jersey. With 80 years combined knowledge, Captain Alan and Captain Ray will take us out fishing for sea bass along New Jersey's artificial reef system. We'll be looking forward to some of their tips and tactics.
The Moriches is based in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey, so we go out of Manasquan Inlet, which is about a third of the way down the New Jersey coastline. From here, we are actually in a very centrally located area to be able to access a lot of great fishing. The current Moriches is a 1994 Henriques 44 flybridge sport fisherman, pretty much perfect for what we do. We do a lot of inshore fishing as well as offshore fishing. Black sea bass, or what we commonly refer to as sea bass, is a bottom fish. Pretty much they're throughout the East Coast and certainly up into the Northeast. Sea bass usually average about 1.5 to 3 pounds. While sea bass migrate offshore during the winter months, anytime from about May until November, they're on the inshore grounds, usually in less than 120 feet of water. Sea bass are bottom dwellers, so as the name would suggest, they live on the bottom, usually in or nearby wrecks, rock structures, some of the artificial reefs, in fact, which is where we fish today. Sea bass fishing, in order to be productive, is you got to stay over the structure, whether that's using an anchor, a wreck anchor, or powering the boat to hold yourself over. The majority of times when there's any kind of wind or drift, we're anchoring up either with 1 or 2 anchors. Today we happen to be fishing on a day where there was hardly any wind or any drift. So using an anchor would have actually been counterproductive in many ways. So we spent a lot of today using the boat's 2 motors to essentially power, twist, and turn and hold ourselves over the structure. One of the nice things about sea bassing is that it can be very simple and inexpensive to fish for. The majority of sea bassing is done with bait rigs. A pretty common rig is a 2-hook high-low rig where the sinker is on the bottom. About 6 or 8 inches above that is the bottom hook, usually tied on some kind of a dropper loop so that the hook itself stands about 6 or 8 inches off the main line. Then about another 18 or 24 inches above that, we put the second hook also on a dropper loop. One of the most common, easiest baits for the sea bass fisherman, angler is clam. We like to salt our clam, so even if we get fresh clam and take it out of the shell, we like to soak it in something like kosher salt because it helps toughen up the clam, and it's cut into sort of like thumb-sized strips of bait. Which are then strung on the hook. Some guys use circle hooks. The majority of people that we fish with use J hooks, or the old style hooks. In terms of sinkers, the idea is to use enough weight to hold the bottom, because you got to get to the bottom and stay on the bottom to fish for sea bass. Because sea bass are not really big fish, obviously you don't really need very heavy line, but because you are often fishing in rocky structures, it's important to use line that's usually about 30 to 40 pound test monofilament in order to resist the scrapes and the scuffs that you get off of the rocks and the wrecks. The monofilament is usually the last 15 feet or so of line. The rest of the line we usually use braided line because it is much more sensitive than the monofilament, and it does not have the stretch that you get in monofilament. In terms of rods and reels, most people use conventional gear. Small or medium-sized bait casting or conventional reels are fine, usually on something like a 7-foot medium action rod. Again, because of the size of the fish, if you're able to scale down into a smaller rod and reel, you can certainly feel the fight much better. However, there are some days, especially if you're fishing under more adverse conditions, where you have to use a little bit more weight and you end up having to use a heavier rod and reel. I've been fortunate to know John over the last few years, initially through his involvement with the Fisherman magazine. He's certainly a pleasure to fish with, and except he's really not a good guest in the sense that he outfished us today, both in terms of the biggest fish and the most fish. But he was a gentleman about it, and he didn't rub it in our face the whole day. So we're happy about that.
That's a beauty. Look at my bait, how nice that's presentation, huh? Coming up.
When we're fishing for sea bass, again, we're fishing on wrecks, and we have no control over what kinds of fish inhabit the wrecks, which is one of the beauties about fishing these wrecks. You never know what you're going to hook up with.
Look at this. There's a blackfish up there. Come on now, nice. Get up and out of the way.
I'm sorry, you're fine.
What are we going to catch?
Might need a harpoon. Wait for Ray to get out of the top. It looks like
Eel.
I
won. I got somebody who won.
All right.
This is an actual conga eel, right?
Actually, no, this is silver eel.
This is silver eel.
Okay, you know, I'm going to lift it because it's going to make a mess out of it. sometimes with some experience you develop a feel or a touch about what types of fish might be biting. For example, the burgalls, which are less desirable fish on the wrecks because they're really smaller fish. They're not, even though they're edible, most people don't keep them. But burgalls tend to have a pretty quick, rapid sort of tap, 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 tap kind of bite. Whereas with quality sea bass, what we usually find is they come along and they sort of give a couple of good tugs, and of course that's when you just want to sort of lift up your rod tip and rear back on it and hook it up. Over the last 25 or 30 years, the state has been instrumental in developing a fairly huge artificial reef system off the coast of New Jersey. Here out of Manasquan, we're especially fortunate because we have 3 reefs. The Axel Carlson slightly to our south, the Seagard Reef slightly to our north, and the Shark River Reef, which is pretty much to our east, all within easy sailing distance. For those who are not familiar with the reef system, the state actually has available online a PDF guide to the artificial reef system, which not only gives you more information about the history of the reefs, but it actually details all of the actual coordinates of the different reefs, which is a wonderful thing because I think all of us are always looking for new and better places to fish.
Well, we had a great day fishing and we learned a little bit about New Jersey's artificial reef system and the abundance of life they hold. I'd like to thank Captain Alan Lee and Captain Ray Bukowski Jr. of Moriches Sport Fishing Charters for providing us with this opportunity today, and a special thanks to you, our viewers, for all your support that helped build our reef system, and to the fishermen and the Fishermen's Sport Fish Fund for bringing it all together. I'm John DeBona. Till next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Fisherman TV. We enjoyed having you, and we hope you picked up some tips that will make a difference the next time you hit the water. And remember, if you're a Fisherman subscriber with a unique fishing talent that you're willing to share with our viewers, we'll make you a part of the show. Just go to thefisherman.com and select About Us to locate our contact info, or you can leave a post on our Facebook page. Until next time, this is Fred Golafaro signing off for the Fisherman TV.